don't think that we're still dealing with past issues. I think you're finally releasing some old shit and finally getting rid of it. But the pastor prison does talk about, the bitterness and grudges being put on you by other people and you kind of being stuck with it. But, this is the chance for you to get all that stuff out of your system. The past is the past and you're letting it go. But bittersweet is about celebration tempered by sadness. The quote for this says, "A window is opened as a door gently closes," which it reminds me of the death card a little bit here, but again, there's like this sadness to it. Now, the card at a glance says, there is an inner strength here, helping you to rise above circumstances and do the right thing. It is time to set aside your personal agenda for the good of the group. The person you are becoming is capable of more than you imagined. But the only way that that's going to happen is when you let go of the past. But I think that that's what you're doing. But, here's your overall for the week. Yeah, we know. The Six of Cups. The past. Releasing the past. For some of you, especially with what's coming through. The Six of Cups. One of the things that has been kind of sticking out a little bit here too is if, with the pastor prison, if you're talking about somebody that has put their bullshit on you, it may be that you have somebody coming back through here to kind of make amends. It's not like justice here, but it's almost like trying to reconnect. Now, the past is going to be the issue this week for some of you. Now, with the Six of Cups, right, it could just be feeling nostalgic, right? But again, things from the past being brought back up and then you dealing with it. Now, in the past, the Nine of Wands. So when it comes to the past here, I think that you are on the defense. The Nine of Wands does talk about persistence. You still got some fight left in you, which is great. But, that wall is still up there. And it could be that, if something from the past is being brought back up, there's a part of you that's ready to continue fighting here. But you may not have to. It's like preparing for another battle when you've already been through enough. But it's if it's coming back through, I think that, you're not willing to back down on your position, I think is the best way to put it. But still not really open to letting it come back through. Now, in the present, the Four of Cups, you're not interested. You are not interested. One of the things that I talk about with Scorpio is when we're talking about extremes, it either exists or it doesn't. Unfortunately, sometimes Scorpios will fall into the gray area, which is why I call them the grays. When you put a Scorpio in a gray area, it's no good, especially for them emotionally. But I don't think that this is the case here. When we're looking at the Four of Cups in terms of the past, you are not interested. You are not emotionally involved. If there is an offer coming through, you're saying no. It's not good enough. It's just not good enough. And your focus is somewhere else. I'm not going to invest any emotions into this, whatever it is from the past that's coming back through. I think you move from this place of getting ready to fight to just you know what, I'm not even interested anymore. It doesn't even matter. Whew, boy. Okay. Future conditions. The Page of Cups. So, and I don't necessarily feel like this is you needing to express something. I think something is being expressed to you. And I think that in the present moment, there just is not any interest in this at all. The Page of Cups, pages, communicators, messages coming through. This one is, the communication of emotions, a new emotional experience. Somebody that's expressing the way that they feel in a new way, or they're feeling something that they haven't felt before. I don't necessarily think that you're dealing with somebody who's emotionally immature, because there's a past connection here. But it's I'm not interested. And like I said, I don't think that this is you. I think that this is something from the past that is persisting. But like I said, I think you move from a place where, you're ready to continue battling here to, like, I'm not interested. Like, don't even bother. But it's still coming through. Oh, your best path to follow, get control of your emotions, the King of Cups. Yeah. And it makes me wonder, what happened in the past for some of you that has you, like, defensive. It's not like the Seven of Wands when you're talking about, like, needing to speak up for yourself. You've already been put through the battle here, but you're still defensive about the past and what happened in the past. And if something is coming back through here, even if it's being presented to you in a new way in the present moment, you're like, I'm not interested. But I wonder if the communication that comes through, like, maybe possibly sparks an interest here. But you need to get control over your emotions, with the King of Cups being your best path to follow. Especially if you feel all over the place right now. In your environment, the Wheel of Fortune, so something coming back around here. And like I said, right now you may not be interested, but I'm wondering about what happens here is the outcome because of this being future conditions, because things are still being communicated here. And like I said, I don't think it's you. I think it's coming from somewhere else. And definitely a repeating cycle, the past coming back through. But the Wheel of Fortune, right? Fate and destiny. A turning of the wheel, good things happening, right? Good fortune, good luck. But it is the repeat of a cycle because you're only at the wheel here. When you go 1 through 10 and you get to the wheel, it's okay, we're going back to 1 again and we're going to do this all over. But it's really about what you've learned 1 through 9 and making better choices so that better things can happen, but you're not interested in it with that Four of Cups. I'm telling you, man, it's like it doesn't exist right now and you're not, your emotions are somewhere else. But, I worry about them not being in a good place. Because I'm looking at that king going, yeah, it makes sense. Oh, wow, your hopes and your fears, the Queen of Swords. Okay. Now, for some of you, yes, we could be talking about an air sign coming through. And there are hopes and fears surrounding this person. But with what I'm looking at here, I think that even if you do have a person from the past that's coming back through with Queen of Swords, I think that that's the kind of energy that you're going to surround yourself in. Like, look, I'm not going to take any of this bullshit. Just get straight to the point. Say what you need to say here. It's like you're open, but you're not. And again, it's like the Nine of Wands coming through. But you may be thinking a little bit too much about the situation, though. Because for Scorpio to be all cerebral is not a good thing. There needs to be emotions involved. You don't want to be put in a gray area. It's never a good thing. Not for Scorpio. And again, I'm looking at a need for you to get control over your emotions. But damn, I think some of you are just like, what, get to it and let's move on. Because I feel like you are done with this. And I don't think that this is something that you want to come back through. But like I said, you're just kind of like, well, whatever. It doesn't matter that it's here in my environment right now. I'm not interested. I'm not paying attention. But like I said, it's like what sparks your interest here with the Page of Cups. I still think that for some of you, something's coming around in a new way here. There's going to be the expression of emotions, and possibly by a person here. But I don't think that, for you right now, it's like, does it exist or doesn't it? I still think that something about this is sparking your interest, but, on the other hand, right, like you're wanting to get past the past in these repeating cycles here with the Magician. Now, with the Hermit, right, doing some soul searching. Leave me the fuck alone. Let me just think about things right now. I don't think that you're isolating yourself. And one of the other things that people don't understand about Scorpio is that you need time to be alone, to process the things that you experience and how you feel. And sometimes people don't understand that. And that may be where the disinterest is coming in. Like, you just need time here to figure out what it is that you're really wanting. With the Hermit and the Wheel, one of the things that I talk about with the Hermit too is when you get to the 9, the Hermit is looking back at 1 through 9 going, why did I do this in the first place? What was the initial idea? Following your own North Star, because the star is what is in the lantern. But like I said, I don't think that this has to do with you isolating yourself. I think that, if you do have something coming back around, you're asking the question on whether or not you really want to go through this again. Because with the world being there, closure. It's over. It's over and done with, right? But yet it's still coming back through. And what I worry about here is that with the 8 of Cups, that you're going to continue to feed into something emotionally that just isn't going to give you what you want. But with the Magician there, like I said, it's almost like you're finally going to walk away from it, with the world being there. You're not going to do that anymore. You're not going to put your emotions into things that are not going to give you what you want, right? And it's probably a good thing with the 4 of Cups here that there isn't a whole lot of interest in what's coming back through. Like I am not going to get involved in this anymore. It's almost like, for some of you with the 6 of Cups, there's, a past with somebody. There's a connection, right? But I think that it was over with, but it's coming back around again. Alright, let's take a look at the soul trees, otherwise I'll pick this apart. Your unique gift is your ability to heal your heart and spirit and go into a place of tranquility when you're dealing with things that, are like bringing up difficult emotions. I think that a lot of you are in that place right now. I don't think that you've asked for this to come back around. But if there is a bond with somebody, I think that right now you're more concerned with healing your own heart and spirit, right? And your unique gifts. The other part of that is your intuition. When I see that card, I think of the sign and I think, okay, well, what unique gifts do they have? Scorpio, emotional intuition, and paying attention to that. Alright, Scorp, let's take a look at Whispers of Love and see what else is going on. And that may be why Bittersweet is coming through. I see. Yeah, it's one of those things where, for some of you, if you do have a bond with somebody and they're coming back through, I think that you're rejecting it now and finally closing the door on the situation, even if, there's communication coming back through in a new way. I think that you're going to take from it what you can, but that the past is done. And you're on to bigger and better things, especially with the Magician coming out. So, right, healing the past, but I think it's you doing it on your own right now, or needing to do it on your own, and needing to get final closure on this. And finally walk away from it and not put any more emotions into something where you're just not going to get what you need. But actions speak loudly, right? For those of you who are in a happy relationship, it's important that you show that love. And then love makes a difference, right? Whatever past hurts there are, that love is what's going to help heal that. But I think, like I said, you're doing this on your own. And then the other thing, too, is actions speak loudly. That's great and all that you may have something coming back through or somebody that you have a connection to. But if they're not willing to act on, some new emotions coming up for them, why should you be dragged through it all over again, is what it feels like. But it's going to be up to you to heal your own heart and spirit here. And that love for yourself, I think, is what's going to make the difference. Alright, Scorp, so, man. When I was shuffling for chakra wisdom, all I had to do was say Scorpio, and this one fell out. Now, as far as the past a person goes, yeah, it's hard for Scorpio to let go of grudges, but I think that this is something totally different. This is something that has been with you for a really long time, and you're finally getting closure on something here, and it's a little bit sad. And I think it's because it's something that you've battled with on whether or not you want to keep feeding into. And I still feel like this defensive energy as far as the past coming through, like, no, please, don't do this to me again. If this is going to come back through, I don't want to have to go through this. But, like I said, for some of you, right, this could just be a situation or a person coming back through, but I think you move into a place where, like, you're not interested. With the Four of Cups, it's not good enough anymore. It's not something that is going to bring you what you want, and I think that you may be rejecting it, no matter, how tempting it is here to get involved with something coming back through. I do think that there is a little bit of pain attached to this, but I think that you've worked through that, and I do think that some of you had hoped that if this came back through, it would be something, and I think that it does kind of spark your interest, but I have to wonder if too much time has passed on this. You've had too much time to think about it in all the different emotional angles of this. But like I said, with the King of Cups, I do think that some of you may be in a gray area right now. Do you get involved in this again? Is it really worth your time? I think you're coming off in the present moment as, you know what, I'm not interested. But I think you struggle with it a little bit, and there's a need for you to get control over your emotions. Now, the other thing, though, too, is if you do have somebody from the past coming back through to communicate to you in a new way about how they feel, I do think that the Queen of Swords is talking about you being, like, direct and to the point. The Queen of Swords, if somebody comes to her with emotional stuff, she's like, no, I don't even want to hear it. Say what you gotta say and move the fuck on, right? And I worry again about you being, like, too much in your head about it, the gray area, and again, needing to get control over the emotions. But what I do like is the way you come out on this, and I understand now why bittersweet has come through. So, for some of you, you're all about manifesting a new experience for yourself. And even if you do have somebody coming through to communicate, like, new emotions to you, I think that, your focus is on you now and getting away from the past. And seriously, like, you're doing this on your own. With the Hermit in the world, you're doing that soul searching to finally get closure on this, and you're not feeding into it emotionally anymore. I think that you've invested a lot into this, but realized finally that you're not going to get what you want from this situation, and I don't think that you're holding out anymore. I think that there's a little bit of spark of interest. Now, as far as the soul trees go, tranquility, heal heart and spirit, and your unique gifts. Your unique gifts is your ability to tap into your intuition and heal your heart and spirit, but needing to have that tranquility, needing to be alone for a minute to do that soul searching. But one of the things that sticks out for me is when I see the soul trees that have the intertwining trees, I do think that some of you have, a connection here that's pretty strong, but it's more important for you to heal your own heart and spirit than even tempt fate again, so to speak. Like, I think that this is the last time that this situation is going to come back around for you where you're going to think about getting involved. Because, again, closure, absolute closure. Now, for those of you who are in a happy relationship, and this has nothing to do with that, right, whatever situation is coming back around here, I think you're done with it. If you're talking about, like, new creative ideas that didn't pan out before, and you moving into a different place. But like I said, I think for some of you, this is going to have to do with a person coming back through, and you're like, no. Now, as far as actions speak loudly when it comes to that, their actions are going to show on whether or not they're even genuinely interested in making something happen here. You can feel all you want, but if you're not willing to do something, then what's the point? And that may be kind of where the Four of Cups is coming through. And then, love makes the difference. I do think that that's both ways, whether you're, dealing with a person coming through or if you're in a happy relationship, it's about self-love. Now, for some of you, right, your actions are what's going to be important for that happy relationship to continue to grow. You have to show that, you love this person even though you may be going through this or something may be coming back through. But like I said, love makes the difference. I think that this is about self-love and you finding that tranquility and finally getting closure on a situation that has been with you for a really long time. Like I said, I think you're tempted, but that's it. It is it now. And it's being completed in a way where I think that you're going to feel better about not feeding into this anymore because you're not going to get what you want. You know that now. But, like I said, just make sure that you stay in control of your emotions. Don't be put in that gray area. Don't allow yourself to be in a position where things go out of control because